we have a Discord question. This is a lead in to a shameless plug. If you want to join Discord and talk fantasy football all off season on, there is a link in the show notes or in the YouTube description. Wherever you are listening or watching to this, there's going to be a link to our Discord server where you can hop in and talk to. Yeah, hopefully you don't have to look very hard. It should just be right there. You can hop into the Discord server and chat with us fantasy football all off season long. Scratch that itch. Anyways, we got a question from Discord, and I thought it was pretty
Dynasty
interesting.
content will be coming.
Absolutely. The question was, NFL Alexander was interested in our thoughts on whether we prefer a snake draft or an auction draft for redraft leagues. And the context of it was, well, this might not be for redraft. I think this is more of a dynasty bent. But the context was there's a bit of debate in which results in more balanced teams, as after 2 years of auction drafts, it always seems like there's very top-heavy teams or top-heavy leagues with some amazing, hard-to-beat teams and some that absolutely stink. Now, some of that could have to do with trading, but I think the point is people are able to manipulate the auction draft potentially and build some super teams. So I don't know. Do you have any knee-jerk reaction to that?
Yeah, I do agree to a certain extent. I feel like, I mean, snake drafts are obviously the standard most people do. Usually it's what I do. And auction drafts are just, if you're getting into an auction draft, it cannot be a, like, hey, you and your buddies, who maybe some guys are just play some casual redraft, like, once a year, and that's kind of it. And you're like, hey, you want to join his dynasty team? Yeah, sure, let's do an auction draft. Like, no, those can't be the guys. Like, you need to be, I hate to say it, but like you have to be hardcore to do that. Like, it takes, you have to know what you're doing. You need to know player values. You've got to, I mean, there's so much that goes into it. Whereas snake, not that you don't have to know anything, because, I mean, obviously that's what you and I mainly do most. We know not a lot, not necessarily that we're good, but we have a lot of useless information.
Yeah.
But it does help to a certain extent the people who aren't as fanatical about it as the others, to where they can at least get decent teams. Whereas if you've got a couple cutthroat guys and then some casuals in an auction draft, yeah, the cutthroat guys are going to slaughter everyone. And that's where your super teams are going to come from, versus a snake. If the player doesn't fall to you, he doesn't fall to you. That's just it.
Yeah, and don't hear what we're not saying, that in snake drafts you can't build super teams, because you absolutely can. I mean, you still have to make decisions. Yeah, you still have to make decisions when there's players on the board, and sometimes those players don't work out. Sometimes they do. But I do think with an auction draft, you can go out and sort of make your own luck a little bit. You can sort of set the tone for what you want your team to be. Whereas with the snake draft, you don't always have that choice. You do sort of have to take what the draft board gives you in a snake draft. Again, not to say you can't build an amazing team in a snake draft. We have seen it done. We have done it. It certainly can happen. But I think with auction, while you are somewhat limited by the I guess with auction, your only limit is your league mates. You're limited by what they're willing to go in on a certain player. So I guess with auction, you got to be able to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. But you can drive up a price on a player and bankrupt somebody, for lack of a better term. I guess you can just sort of play the field a little bit with auction drafts that you can't necessarily do with a snake draft. So yeah, auction drafts, though, they take like 3-4 hours to do. So they're a time investment,
which you won't find many casuals willing to do anyway. But
exactly,
yeah, it's kind of like we're saying, like, you need to
be done.
If people are going to do an auction draft, like, it can't be with newbies or casual. Like, you need to know what you're getting into when you get into that, and that's kind of the nitty gritty of it. You need to know what's about to happen if you're going to do that.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully that answers the question. Snake or auction, I don't know, but both are really fun. I think you just got to know what you're signing up for.